Welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Shively, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and I'm on a 1 million pound mission. Now, I've personally lost over 100 pounds, and I've applied what I've learned from my own transformation journey to help my hometown clients lose over 35,000 pounds in just 5 years. Now I'm on a mission to produce over 1 million pounds of results by delivering my best weekly tips, motivation, inspirational stories, and transformation strategies so that you can gain clarity about what you need to do to reach your goals and give you the confidence to take action. And the perfect time to start taking action is right now. So let's do this. This episode is sponsored by Four Sigmatic. I'm so excited to have them on board as a sponsor because I have been using their products and loving them for the past several months. I initially heard about their products on another podcast. I checked them out and just fell in love with the quality, the digestibility. My favorite things, I like to wake up in the morning and take a little bit of the cordyceps extract. I just dissolve it in some hot water, drink it like tea or hot coffee. And then about midday, I do some chaga. And chaga has been shown to give you a nice immune system boost. So this is a great time of year with flu season coming around. It's important to keep that immune system strong. And then every once in a while, I need a little bit of extra something to get me to sleep. Maybe I've had a really energized day. I've done a bunch of killer podcasts, and I need to calm down a little bit. So I'll either do some reishi or I'll do a sleep stick pack, and that gets the job done. So check out foursigmatic.com. That's FOURSIGMATIC.com. Foursigmatic.com. Use the promotion code MPM, as in Million Pound Mission, MPM, and you're going to save 15%. Check them out. Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude. How's it going out there, my friends? I have a hot one for you this week. You guys are going to love this topic. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and you're going to love these ladies that I brought on to help me teach on this topic. So I did some calculations. Our three weight loss totals combined is almost 400 pounds between myself and Mandee and Lexy. And we're talking about losing weight while dating. This is an important topic because it's just how do you bring it up? That's the question I get a lot when I'm working with people. Like, I've lost a lot of weight. I'm dating somebody new. How do I just bring that topic up? Like, yeah, this is how I used to be, and I've done this whole big transformation thing. Or what if you are in a new relationship and you decide you want to start losing weight? How does that conversation go? How do you communicate to this person that you're interested in and, hopefully building a relationship with, that you want to start making some pretty serious changes in your lifestyle and in your life? So these ladies rocked it. They have both been on the show before. They both lost over 100 pounds each. So they are just superstars, and they don't pull any punches. They tell you how they feel about these topics, and we really dive in deep. So I think you're going to love it. And without further ado, here is episode number 92, Losing Weight While Dating with Mandee and Lexy. All right, Mandee, Lexy, welcome to the Million Pound Mission Podcast. How are we doing today, ladies?
Good. Yep.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. We are fired up. This is going to be one heck of a good show. These ladies are going to bring it. And let's just dive right in. So, Mandee, I want you to start off and kick this off. I want you to talk about your weight loss journey and kind of how that has coincided with your dating journey, and just a little bit of a reintroduction to your story.
Yeah, sure. So I started at NGPT, our hometown gym that Adam runs, in January of 2013. Walked in the door weighing 319 pounds, so I had quite a way to go. I was kind of like the perfect time for me to start. Before that, I had only been in one relationship. It was on and off basically for 9 years, pretty unhealthy relationship. And so I didn't have any, contact with this person at the time. I was completely single, kind of the best situation for me. I was living with my sister at the time. We shared an apartment. She was starting the program with me as well. So we were both on board, low stress job. So it was just a great year for me to do it. So 2013 started with the first boot camp in January and did really well the first boot camp. I think I lost over 30, somewhere between 30 and 40 pounds. So I was kind of just hooked after that. Did another boot camp just to kind of ingrain everything. Started working with Adam, started doing personal training by the end of the year. And by the end of 2013, I had lost 120 pounds. So was super successful, and was really committed at that point. Started doing nutrition coaching. I didn't actually start getting into dating again until probably, I think it was like spring of 2014. I was trying to remember. So that was when I really kind of started getting interested and, thinking, okay, I think I'm ready. I've kind of laid the groundwork. I feel, confident enough to get back out there. And so I, jumped right into the online dating game and started my Tinder profile and Plenty of Fish and all those things. And by the end, I was definitely professional, I'd say. But so just kind of went from there, I guess. And just being at the gym and dating.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll dive a little bit deeper here in a minute. So that your story for this show is going to be, all right, Mandee is somebody that has lost weight while she's been out there dating. So we'll catch back up to that in a second. So Lexy, you've got a different story, different take on the dating situation. So why don't you update us on what your transformation story looks like with your weight loss, but also the dating situation, how that rolled out.
So whenever I first started dating was 2013. And I think at that point I was 289 pounds. And I also was on the Tinder and all those fun things. And so for me, I was like, man, this is kind of fun. But then whenever the guys were like, hey, let's meet up in person, I was like, oh my gosh, no. So I would like get ready and get dressed up, put on my makeup. And then right before I would cancel because I was so insecure with myself. And I was like, man, I can't do this. I'm so nervous. And all my girlfriends were like, Lexy, just go. It's going to be fun. Like, they're super nice. You've been talking to them. So from there, I hadn't dated until 2014 when I met my now husband by a fluke. I thought he was my old bartender, and he ended up being someone I didn't know completely. And I was with 20 girls whenever he first came to meet me. And the only reason that I even allowed him to come and meet me was by liquid courage. And at this point, like, I wasn't working out. I wasn't fit by any means. And I didn't really care about what I was putting in my body. And so we started dating and fell in love. And then 2015, we went to Gatlinburg on New Year's with a bunch of our friends. And I remember waking up on New Year's Day, looking at myself in the mirror, and had a breakdown because I was so not in a good place with the way I looked. And I was my heaviest, which was 289. And I told my boyfriend at the time, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I have to make a change with myself. And he was very on board. He was like, whatever you need to do, I will do it with you. And so, I mean, he's loved me from my heaviest until now I'm sitting at 182 pounds, which is what I weigh. And I'd like to get down to like 140, but he's been with me my entire journey. And I mean, a lot of people are like, I have to find someone when I lose the weight, which I don't really agree with, because he was able to see through me at my heaviest to where I'm at now.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And while we're on this, I wanted to bounce another question your way, Lexy.
Yeah.
Did you have like a specific conversation, like when you made that decision? You talked about making the decision to lose weight, and he was totally on board. But what did that conversation look like? Because I know that's a tough conversation for a lot of people to have, is when they found somebody that they love, that they feel like, they kind of given their heart to, but, and you put yourself out there and say, well, I need to make some healthy changes, and you just hope that they're on board with it. So what was that conversation specifically like for you?
So when we got back to Nashville, which is where we both live, we didn't live together. I had basically, I've been on a diet since I was in like 4th grade, and I've tried every single diet that's out there. And so this time I had to make a change. And for me, my first person that I sought out was a therapist, because I'm a binge eater. So I can be on a diet and do really good for like 3 weeks, and then I fall off. And if I fall off, typically it's like I'll eat candy and then I'll eat ice cream. So I binge eat really bad. So I had to get to the bottom of why am I doing that? So for me, I sought out a therapist, and that was really hard. Like telling my boyfriend, like, hey, I have to see a therapist because I have a problem with eating. It was kind of embarrassing, but he was super supportive. And after that, I got referred to a dietitian, and that I started first with just my eating changes. And like, I had a meal plan for me and completely emptied everything in my cabinet. So anytime he would come over, I would be like, okay, like, if you want to go do something, we can like go on a walk, or we could do something that doesn't involve food. Because I, at the time, did not have a good relationship with food.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's got to make you feel good too, that he was just on board with that and willing to play ball and be like, yeah, cool, let's go for a walk. That's awesome.
Very much so.
You know, that's got to be a nice confidence builder. So I think if we were going to have a takeaway from that comment you just made, Lexi, I think that, you know, putting ourselves out there, because if we're in a relationship and we are falling in love and you kind of see it go in that direction, then that's almost the perfect time to put yourself out there to make some positive changes. And you know, maybe it's a little filter. If somebody doesn't support you in that, then is that the person you want to be with long term anyway? So
yes,
I think, yeah, that worked out well. Okay, Mandee. Now I want to talk about a situation that I know a lot of people are dealing with. I talked to a lot of people. People messaged me on Instagram, and this has come up several times. What was your strategy? What is your strategy with bringing up your weight loss when you are dating somebody? So you're on a few dates, and, you know, there's this, I mean, it's an amazing story. It's an inspirational story, but it could also, you know, it could be an awkward thing to bring up. Like, yeah, I've lost 120 pounds. How did you bring that up? When did you bring that up? What was your strategy there?
Yeah, so I kind of learned my lesson super quick on this one, because unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Some people, if you tell them, you know, I've lost 120 pounds, I've had guys that would just like quit talking to me, because I don't know if they just thought I was going to gain it all back, or, you know, because they was just done. So I learned that quick, and I'm a pretty open person. So I feel like that's where that came from. And maybe online dating made me a little guarded, in some aspects, but, I did have like, a lot of pictures, at the gym, you know, of us lifting. So I'd always had like a couple like that showed my interest. I was, you know, physically active. So that conversation would come up. And so, I've kind of kept, it was like kind of like my little secret. I didn't bring it up at all until I knew that I was definitely interested. So I definitely didn't come up until I'd actually met the guy, had been on a couple of dates. And then really it had to come up at some point, because I am so invested in just like maintaining, and also in our gym, you know, if you're a local client, you know, it's like our gym family, and I'm super involved in our gym, and I teach a couple classes, and, you know, I want to be there. And so they would need to know at some point that, you know, that is the reason I am there so much, because it's my accountability point. And it's more than just a gym, you know, so it's my lifeline pretty much. So, it definitely was something I kept private for, until I knew that there was an interest there, and it was someone that I could trust and would be okay with it, I think.
Right. So now you're in a pretty serious relationship. I feel like I feel like he's the one personally. We'll see how it works out, but I feel pretty good about it. No pressure. But so what did the conversation look like when you brought it up to this guy that you're in a serious relationship with now? Like what was the scenario? How did you go about bringing it up?
Yeah, I was trying to remember, because Adam's my boyfriend, which is super confusing. Sorry. So my Adam, we actually met through a mutual friend. So I like online dated for 3 solid years, and then ended up meeting someone through a mutual friend. But I can't remember, because I don't know if my friend told him. I don't think Well, and you know what? Actually, Adam, I remember he Googled me. And if you Google, or if you Google NGPT even, I think my before and after comes up.
Nice.
Like, so it wasn't, so he knew, and he's an awesome guy and he's super supportive and everything. So, he wasn't the type of guy that I knew that was going to just, dismiss me because I had been at 300 pounds at one point. So, so it was he already knew, kind of my story a little bit. So it was a little bit easier, which made it even better because he knew my story and he was still, interested in seeing me and dating. So that was good.
Okay. So you kind of lucked out there, but let's say there's somebody out there that is sitting in this situation that's lost weight. What kind of advice would you give that person if they found somebody that they like and they want to bring it up? Like, what kind of advice would you give that person?
Well, I mean, if you're going to seriously be dating this person, they have to know, like your food. You can't just I feel like, especially when you're starting to date someone new, you might be a little bit more lax, but at some point you got to rein it back in, because you can't be going out on dates and eating just whatever you want all the time. So, I think, if you're serious about this person, and they're going to be serious about you, they have to be accepting of where you came from. So just being honest with them once you decide that it's someone you want to be with, like, this is why, I'm committed to this, because this is where I came from, and I think for Adam too, like seeing my before and after, really kind of drove it home for him, especially, why I am so committed to it and why I need you're going to need their support as well. And so why I need his support as well.
Right. Good. Okay, cool. So Lexy, let's tag you back in here because I want to talk about, if you, I'm going to ask you both this question, but Lexy, you're up first. I want to know if you've had any like specific conversations with your significant other about supporting you in your goals, AKA don't be eating pizza in front of me or it's really going to piss me off. Like any of those types of conversations, like have you laid any ground rules or, just kind of letting them know what kind of support you need? What kind of conversations have you had along those lines?
I have. We actually talk about it quite a bit because I feel like sometimes it changes. I will say that if you are with someone that doesn't support you and, your goals, then you're probably not with the right person because they need to be uplifting you and they need to be your biggest cheerleader. And that's definitely what my husband is for me. He's one of my biggest cheerleaders and he has been through my entire journey. For me, my biggest problem is sweets. Give me all the Sour Patch Kids and like chocolate, ice cream. That's my go-to. So I was like, hey, like we live together obviously now. I said, we cannot have this stuff in the house. And he is such a sweet person. And he'll be like, hey, let's go get ice cream or let's do this. And I'm like, do you not understand? We just had this conversation. And sometimes I get like really angry about it because if like we're doing this together now, we both have written down our goals that we have for the year and he's trying to drop some weight and so am I. And he's like, well, it's okay. Let's do this. I'm like, we just had this conversation last night and we had a little bit of an argument about it. Like, no, we cannot be doing this. Like, I need you to hold me through with this. And if you're going to the gas station to pick up this and you're going to be eating it in front of me, you just can't. Like, if you want that, cool, go get it, eat it outside. Just don't bring it in the house. Which a lot of times, like whenever I tell my best friend this, she's like, Lexy, like you should be able to have it in the house now, don't you think? No, I mean, I can't. I know what my willpower still is, and my willpower is so much stronger than what it used to be, but I still struggle with it immensely.
Yeah, and I commend you for being straightforward and being honest and being realistic. And like both of you said, you got to communicate effectively with these people because they are your partner. They're your spouse. So, you got to put it out there. All right. So Mandee, how would you answer that question? Have you, laid the law down with your Adam? We'll call him because it's not me. It's your Adam. Yes, your Adam. I know, I've been around you enough to know that you, are pretty strong in your opinions and thoughts. So what kind of conversations have you had, with your man about this whole situation?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in a different situation now because live at home. We have our own places. So he owns a home and I live in an apartment by myself. So before him, I had, complete control of what was in my apartment at all times. And he's not, he kind of just eats what he wants, which I'm actually, 100% okay with. He tried to be on the same plan as me for a little bit, and it honestly just stressed me out more, because then I had to like cook for both of us, and I finally just said, just eat whatever you want. But he's left stuff over here before, and I've just thrown it away. And he'll come back and be like, where are my chocolates? And I'm like, I can't have that stuff in here. I got to throw it away. And we've had the conversation, because I'm moving in with him, in the spring. And I've told him, like, we're going to have to give you your own cabinet. That's what, when I lived with my sister at one point, she kind of, went off plan and did her own thing, and she had her own cabinet, and I just have to teach myself to stay out of it. And he kind of joked actually about getting a lock on it. And I was like, well, it's probably not a bad idea, because I'm kind of in the same boat as Lexy. It's like my willpower is much stronger, but if I just have like a moment where it's just been like a bad day and I'm not reporting to somebody or doing a program, it could be, opening it up and it's like, well, I just have this or that, or it's not going to be good. So.
Yeah. And that's a strategy that I use in our home, where I kind of have my shelf in the refrigerator. I've got my space in the pantry, and, my wife's and my kids are separate. And that works pretty well, because sometimes it's just kind of out of sight, out of mind, that I'm just going to my zones and all my stuff is there. But I can see, this will be a challenge that once you guys move in together, it's going to be something that needs to be worked out and thought about. And, it'll get easier as you go, for sure. And he'll understand the situation even better once you're living together too. But no, that's super interesting. And I think you're good at communication. So it won't be an issue. You guys will work through it.
To say with all these comments.
Yeah. Strong-willed. She's a strong-willed woman. Yeah. So let's shift the conversation just a little bit. I actually had an interesting conversation with my wife not too long ago, where she kind of brought up the not really an issue, but just a scenario where she said she was kind of she feels pressure to kind of be the fitness guy's wife, and that she has to like represent herself in a certain way and kind of keep up. So do you guys feel, Lexy, let's start with you. Do you feel like your husband feels like he has to kind of keep up with you with fitness or with health? And, you guys have talked about doing goals and things together, but do you think there's any pressure there, just because you've done so much and had this amazing transformation, that he feels pressure in any way from that?
I do. So we talked about this like first of the year, and I always have a New Year's resolution, and I don't think I ever stuck to it until 2 years ago, when I was able to commit to this healthy lifestyle change. And he started a new career. He's been in it 2 years now, and in 2 years he put on 40 pounds. His job is like, last week or 2 weeks ago, he worked like 86 hours in 1 week, which is just insane to me. But I told him, I'm like, you have to have boundaries. Like whenever you're at work, he works in like with his hands, and he's constantly on the go. And so he typically stops at a gas station and we'll get food from there, or, McDonald's, something fast food. And I was like, if we're committing to both doing this together, like I will pack your lunch for you, but like you have to actually eat it, because I had packed his lunch for him before and he would bring it home not eaten. So I was like, we're going to meal prep together and we're both going to do this. And he was like, well, I feel like you already know how to do it. He was like, it's harder for me to lose weight. I'm like, no, it's not. It's, I feel like guys can lose weight quicker, which is probably just me thinking. But I'm like, so I know what to do to lose weight. But I feel like for myself, I've been at a standstill. Like I've hit a plateau and my goal weight is 140. And I feel like it's taken me so much now to lose just like 4 pounds. Whereas before I was losing like 4 pounds every single week consistently. So now I got a dietitian again, and I am completely changing up my meal plan, and I am doing Whole30. And I told my husband, I said, I think that you'll struggle with this just because he eats worse foods than I do right now. But I'm like, we're going to do this together. So tomorrow is actually when we're starting Whole30.
Nice.
So we will see how that goes. I have high hopes for us both.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good that you are willing to kind of coach him along a little bit. I think it's a tricky line to walk. I am right there with you, where you want to help your spouse, you want to encourage them, but also there's just that relationship balance where like it's hard to coach. Like it's really hard for me to coach my wife, because she is my wife and we are equal partners in our relationship. And it's like, and I wouldn't like her, it can easily turn into, feeling like we're being bossed around. So it's a tricky thing to navigate for sure. And I would just recommend just lots of open communication. You don't want to hold anything back and just try and be as positive and supportive as possible. But, make it more of we're in this together more than anything. And I think that's the best route to take. So
yeah, very much so. This morning, before my husband left to go fishing, I was eating a Reese. And this is where like I am very open with him. I express how I feel. And he was like, we just bought like $200 worth of food and you're eating a Reese's. I was like, excuse me? Like, you're coming to tell me? I got super frustrated. And he was like, you don't need that. And I was like, we are starting this plan tomorrow. Today is Sunday. I am eating this Reese if I want it. So
yeah.
I mean, I have to be able to understand that if I'm giving it to him, he can give it right back to me.
Yep, exactly. And it's like I said, it's tough. Being accountability partners with your spouse is tough. But it can definitely be done. It's open communication. That's the key. Yes. All right, Mandee, what about you with this situation? Do you feel like your Adam has any pressure, or maybe you've motivated him, or what's that situation look like for you?
Oh, I don't feel like he feels any pressure at all. He's definitely like, tuned in to his body, because he'll make comments, as this is kind of he has a very physical job. So that's part of him maybe not necessarily wanting to work out, after work or before work, is because he's on his feet going all day when he gets to work. And he likes being outside and doing like hiking and water sports. But as far as the food goes, I don't feel like he feels any pressure to be healthier just because of me. But at the same time, he's very tuned in. And if he's feeling like he's putting weight on, he'll dial it back and, drop 10 pounds in a week and really annoy me. But, I don't think it's because of me at all. When he's not feeling great, he makes changes. My goal, hopefully, is once we are together in one household, is just to make things more consistent and maybe coach him that way. And that way, I think if we're eating the same meals, it's going to be a lot easier and in the same place.
Yeah. And something that'll, as your relationship kind of solidifies and deepens and all that, and you move forward, however that looks, you get to the point where you just start to have kind of that genuine caring concern for your spouse, where you just want them to be healthy because you want them around. So there'll come a point in time when you may be like, try to bring up a conversation and start that ball rolling in the right direction. Like, hey, let's see how healthy we can get. Let's see if we can both drop 5 pounds this month or whatever. But I would just encourage you to make it about you doing it together and not like, hey, I'd love to see you lose 10 pounds, because nobody's going to take that well. So that would just be my only advice in that situation, because it'll come up, because, anybody that you move along with and get married to and all that, you're going to care about their long-term health, and those sorts of things kind of pop up every once in a while. Okay. Big topic here. I know Lexy, in our last interview that we did, you went off on this topic and I loved it, my friend. I want to talk about maintaining the results, because I see a lot of people that are kind of dialed in on getting healthy or losing weight so that they can find their partner, their mate, their spouse. But then once they find the one, they get married, they get the ring on their finger, they kind of like throw it all out the window and don't really care about their health anymore, because they were just so focused on just getting married and kind of satisfying that social need in their life. And then they regain their weight back. So Lexy, if you could, I know, like I said, you really dropped some knowledge on this. If you guys haven't listened to my interview with either of these ladies, I'll link to it in the show notes and the blog. But if you could just kind of talk about your mindset. So now you have found the one, you are married. What is going to keep you from backsliding in just the situation that I talked about?
So I think a lot of times we hear, you have to find that motivation, like, whatever it is, just find it. And I honestly don't believe that motivation is always what keeps someone going. Like, I'm not motivated every single day, but I am accountable to myself, and I hold myself accountable for what I put in my mouth and how I move my body. And if I'm just being honest, I am a much better wife whenever I eat well and I exercise. And the saying that's like, when you eat like shit, you feel like shit. That is 100% true. Whenever I'm eating bad, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but if I am feeling extra fluffy and whatnot, I'm not going to want to be having sex with my husband. I'm not going to want to be caring to him. I'm not going to want to be nice to him. So if I am eating well and if I'm constantly moving my body, even if it's for 30 minutes a day, then I'm going to be a better wife and I'm going to feel better about myself so that I can do that for him and for myself.
Yeah, I love it. And, investment in you is an investment in your relationship. It's an investment in your family. If you guys decide to have kids, so many parents struggle with that, especially moms. I talk about this a lot. Moms just kind of tend to put themselves on the back burner. Yeah. And everything for everybody else first, no time for mom to invest in her own health. And, long term, I try to get the moms that I work with to open up their eyes a little bit and be like, listen, your kids want you around for that extra 20, 30, 40 years. So they can deal with you taking 3 hours a week to work out. That's an investment that's well worth it. So
honestly, we've been talking a lot about babies and, whenever the right timing is, and we're actually trying now, but I've laid the grounds. That's even if it's for an hour a day and I'm just leaving the house and going to get a 45-minute exercise, after I'm cleared to exercise and whatnot, that's what I'm going to have to do, because if not, I feel like I would lose my sanity. And I say that now, but whenever you're actually in the situation, I know it's so much easier said than done to be like, hey, here's the baby, I have to leave. But regardless if I have to hire someone to come to my house, I have to do that to be the best version of myself for everyone around me.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you're already thinking ahead about those situations. That just shows how important your health is to you. So I think you're along the right track there, Lexy.
Thank you.
All right, Mandee, what about you? What is going to keep you, obviously, like you said, hopefully we're not putting too much pressure on your Adam here, but things are going well. Things are going well. We're moving in.
He knows, trust me.
Things are going well. We're moving in. So you found somebody that you really care about and that you're looking for at a long-term future with. What is going to keep you, once that ring is on your finger, once you walk down that aisle and party like none other, what is going to keep you from going, oh, screw it, I don't need to look like this anymore? Or what's going to keep you from backsliding?
Right. Well, I think I kind of, to piggyback off what Lexy said, that I didn't, and I kind of talked about it in my, my initial interview with you, because I didn't start at NGPT with the goal of ending up with a boyfriend or a husband or whatever. I just wanted to live a normal life. And I think that's what continues, to keep me motivated is, I want to be able to lift weights and go on roller coasters and ride on a plane and not worry about fitting in the seat or getting the belt buckled. And so that's always been my main motivation, was just to be normal. And, of course, part of me, was in the hopes of meeting someone someday, but that was the reason that got me in the door. I think that's, kind of what keeps me going. Also, and you told me this, Adam, because Adam's been around through all my online dating adventures and has heard many stories. And he wrote a really nice thing in my little hub that we do for personal training, where we just kind of list our wins and things for the day. And I was griping about one of the guys I'd met, and he said, it'll be easy when you find the right one. And it's so true with my Adam. It's just, I can just be so open with him if I'm having, a couple bad weeks or something. I'm not feeling well about myself. I just tell him, and he's completely supportive. And it's been almost a year, and I've stayed mostly within this 5-pound range. So I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. So
yeah, and because with new relationships too, the people just struggle in general with transitions, and finding a serious relationship is one of the biggest transitions, other than like what Lexy mentioned, giving birth. Those are two of the biggest transitions in life that we will go through. And people struggle with just simple ones, like their kids started school or they went on spring break. So if people can't handle those, then the whole big relationship and birth and all that, that's going to rock their world. So I think both of you are in a really good headspace around these big life moments that are coming up. And the key thing is that you just stay present in the moment. And if things do start to slip, you talk to your partner, you talk to your friends, you talk to your coach, you get plugged in, you talk to your therapist, your nutritionist, and just bring it back home. And if you start to slip a little bit, we make sure it's just a little slip, because those happen and those are easy to recover from. And I think both of you are going to rock it. So, we've been talking about a lot of tough situations. I wanted to ask you both what you felt like has been the hardest part of this whole scenario of losing weight, finding someone that you love all at once. So Lexy, what would you say has been the hardest part of all this, and how are you working, or how have you worked to overcome that?
I think the hardest thing, especially when you haven't found someone and you're just starting to date, and if you are overweight, feeling good about yourself. Like, I know for myself, whenever I was trying to date, I was in a really dark place, personally, and I didn't feel good about myself, and just my outlook on life was really dull, and I didn't have any high hopes for myself. So you have to learn that you're not going to find someone that can love you the way that you love yourself. So you have to love yourself before another man can ever love you. And I think that's the main thing, is I had to learn that I'm not going to be getting love from someone else the way that I can love myself. So for me, that was completely changing the way that I ate, completely changing the way that I exercised. And you don't have to make huge changes. You can start small by eating more fruit or more vegetables, cutting out sugar, going on a 15-minute walk, taking the stairs, parking farther away. So it's not, you don't have to make these big, huge changes first. You can start really small, but I honestly think it's about loving yourself before someone else can ever love you the way that, you expect to be loved.
That's awesome. I love your focus on you and your health for you and not for anybody else. Obviously, other people will benefit from that, but it's all internal. So I think that's amazing, Lexy. Great advice.
Thanks.
All right, Mandee, what do you got? What do you think on this topic here?
This was a hard one for me. I think mainly, I guess, just making sure that you keep putting yourself as number one, especially if you are, seriously dating, going on at least a couple dates a month. Don't just, I know the big thing in the online dating world is let's go get a drink, or, don't be afraid to order water, or I always try to gear it towards coffee if I knew that's where it was going. If you got a good one that really actually wanted to take you out for a meal, I tried to make sure it was at a place I knew I could order something that was on plan. But I would just be just remind yourself of your goals, and don't bend them for somebody that you don't even know, as you're dating, if it's someone that you're going to be serious with.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And as Mandee mentioned, I was kind of doing a lot of coaching with her. We were doing, at one point, we were doing weekly calls to check in as she's going through all this dating and everything, and kind of just getting her through. And I saw a transition in you from when you kind of first started getting out there and doing a lot of the dating. It was more about kind of making it fit towards them. And then towards the latter part, it was more about, don't worry, I told him where I wanted to eat, because I know I can eat what I need to eat there. And you were kind of taking control of the situation. I love that. And the other thing that I just want to put out there to people now, this day and age, something that Mandee was struggling with is she felt like she was going on lots of dates and then not finding the one. But with online dating, it's just so there's potential. You could date hundreds of people and not find the one, where, back in my day when I was looking for love, you just dated a few people, there was a connection already built in, where you met them from a friend or somebody introduced you and said, hey, you have things in common. So there's kind of this filter where you go online, it's oh, she's hot, he's not, and they kind of flip through. And it's just a much more superficial filter. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you're going to have to go through a whole hell of a lot more people that way to find somebody. And even with Mandee's story, she ended up getting introduced to somebody by one of her friends. And now that's the magic moment that she was looking for. So just don't get discouraged by the volume of dates. Cause I know that was something, like I said, that Mandee was kind of getting bummed about. And I was just in her ear, like, this is just a different deal. And the other thing is, this generation of daters doesn't have anyone to lean on that has experience with this. Cause you guys are the first ones to experience this, really, this level of online dating, where I have no idea what it's like, you know?
Online dating is the worst.
It's all, yeah. Like, it makes me ill thinking of, like, if Adam and I didn't, work out, going back into that. It's just, it made me, like, so strong. I feel like you really have to know who you are.
I would agree with that 100%. And I feel like our generation of people, we're such a popcorn generation, meaning like we want something and we want something now. And then if you get in a relationship with someone and something goes wrong, oh, it's okay, I'll get back on Tinder or Bumble and find someone else. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not willing to put in the work to make something work and last. We just move on to the next person. That's
interesting. I've even seen a similar thought process where people were describing this generation of people where it's kind of that instant gratification, even with like work, and they have to treat them differently at work and in relationships in general. So that's interesting that you brought that up, Lexy. So last question, I know I could just sit here and pick both of your brains on this topic because I think it's super interesting, but we'll do one more question here. So Lexy, any last tips for somebody that's out there struggling with this situation? They're wanting to get healthy, or they are getting healthy. Maybe they're struggling with bringing up or getting their significant other involved or on board with their transformation. Any last tips or thoughts for anybody that is kind of plugged into a similar situation as what you've been through?
I would say, first off, don't settle. Dating is really hard, and so is losing weight. It's two really hard things. And then combining those, don't settle. Make sure that you're putting yourself first, and make sure that, the guy or the girl that you find is going to love you, at your heaviest, and love you at your lowest weight. I have a group of friends here, and one couple in particular, and he said, "Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that you've lost 100 pounds. He's like, "Wow." And so then his wife was like, "Yeah, what would you do if I gained weight?" And he's like, "Well, that's not the woman that I married. So, you have to stay the same."
Oh, man.
Which just, I don't know what it did. It struck a chord, and I kind of went off on him. And I'm like,
yeah, I was thinking like, that guy's in trouble.
Yeah.
Let's start kicking ass.
It was not good for me, because I'm like, you marry this person for better or for worse. What happens if you get in a situation where, they get sick, or God forbid they get cancer, or, something terrible? Like, there's so much worse things than being fat or being overweight, in my opinion. But him just saying that, oh my gosh, it just crawled under my skin. And I'm like, you know what? I really like to, but I'm really kind of second guessing that. Like, why would you say that? And so I would just say, love yourself enough to put yourself first. Even if you just started dating someone and they want to be spending a lot of time with you, just let them know what your goals are, and then find someone that's going to love you through the dark times, because you could, lose all this weight. And like for me, I've gained 10 pounds and I feel super fluffy, but my husband is so on board. And even whenever he was my boyfriend, he was on board, and, he cheered me on and has always said, we can do this together. So just make it a team thing.
I love it. That's awesome. I love the focus on the team, and, it's for better, for worse. And maybe your spouse does start to gain weight, but the thing is, you don't judge them for that. You can encourage them. You can jump in and, have a talk and be open in communication. But like you said, it's not like they got to make the cut and if you do this, then the ring comes off the finger. We're getting divorced or something. That's not what it's about. So that line needs to be well defined for people, I think. So, okay. So Mandee, what about you? Any last thoughts, tips for anybody? Let's say there's somebody out there just trying to hack it out in the dating world, whether it's online or whatever, and they're getting a little frustrated, because I know you felt that before. What kind of advice or tips would you give somebody that's trying to get healthy and trying to find that spouse, that partner?
Yeah, I would say if you're out there just like consistently dating, just like Lexy said, make yourself number one. Like, I finally got to a point, it's like, no, I'm not canceling my workout. Like, I had this planned already. This guy wants to go out on a date, you know, I quit like bending my rules. I wasn't afraid to dictate what happened on the date, where it was. So just continue to make yourself number one. Don't bend your rules for somebody, especially when it's just like the beginning stages of dating. Because the right guy that comes around will respect it anyways, and that's the one you want to be with regardless.
Yes, that's 100% right. And I think the general theme that we're seeing here, other than online dating sucks, is that these ladies are telling you out there, audience that are listening in, that you need to be focused on you and your health. And if you do that and you keep putting yourself out there and you're honest and open in your communication, the right person is going to be presented. And it might take 100 dates, it might take 10 dates, but you just stay focused on you and the healthiest you possible. And that's how we get the job done. So, ladies, I want to thank you both, because I know that this is not an easy conversation to have. I appreciate you being open and honest and sharing your story. I know there are a lot of people out there, both men and women, that are going through this exact situation. You know, I've been through it myself. I'm in a similar situation to Lexy. I started losing weight when I was dating my now wife. And it's just interesting, you know, it pops up into your head every once in a while, like, wow, I'm a much different person. And I show people pictures of me when I weighed 327 pounds. And I'm like, yeah, that's my wife that's with me. And they're like, wow, was she into heavy guys or something? You know, I'm like, hey man, I've got a great personality. What are you talking about? So it's just an interesting conversation to have. And I know a lot of people deal with it. So if you guys are out there and you want to go further on this conversation, don't be shy about hitting me up on Instagram, just at transformationcoach.me, or kick me an email, help@transformationcoach.me, Facebook @transformationcoach.me. And I can connect you with these ladies. You can bounce questions off there. They're just awesome, awesome women. I'm super proud of both of you. I think that you've got great things ahead of you in life, and I'm going to be excited to follow along with the story. And I'm super, super appreciative of you taking time and being open and willing to share your story. So thank you very much, ladies.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody out there in the audience, as always, when we have superstar guests on here, I want to challenge you to take action, because listening is one thing, applying is what we're actually after. So in the next 24 hours, just make a few mental notes, especially if you're out there in one of these situations where you can say like, man, I really relate to what Mandee or Lexy said. Then what are you going to do about it? The next 24 hours, make one little step. Maybe it's a conversation, right? Maybe you have to pin somebody down and say, hey, we need to talk. I need to open up about my situation. Here's how you can better support me. Maybe it's telling somebody, hey, I've lost a pretty significant amount of weight. This is who I am. It's part of my story, and I need your support in this, or this may not work out. So in the next 24 hours, what can you do to help better your situation? If you're in this out there dating and trying to lose weight at the same time, it's tough. But as I always say, you're worth it. When you find the right relationship, that will be worth it as well. All right, my friends, as always, I want you to get out there and own it every meal, every workout, every day. And I will see you on the next episode. All right, I've got one quick question before you take off. Have you taken on my Subscribe for 5 challenge yet? If not, here's how it works. If I've been able to add any value to you with this episode or inspire you with the content, I want you to hit the subscribe button and give me 5 episodes. Listen to 5 episodes, and if you aren't inspired, then I get fired. All right, so you can unsubscribe, no harm, no foul, no hurt feelings by me. But I think that you're going to love the content. You're going to love the 3 shows per week that we're putting out there. So subscribe for 5, get inspired, get fired up, and get better results.